I think you can take a snapshot in time, maybe a 1 or 2 year period, looking at some standard moving average levels, and see if the stock actually reflects that it relies on those. You know, if you find
Welcome back, traders and investors. We have Tony Posawatz on the phone. He's an automotive innovation leader and former CEO of Fisker Automotive, and more importantly, a friend of our COO, Fernando. Do you know Fernando from back at your Harvard days, or how do you know Fernando?
Oh, Fernando and I worked closely together at GM, and we were both trying to do some very interesting innovations, and we continue to do that here going forward. It's great to be on your program, Joel.
Okay, just give us a little bit of your education and your employment history.
Well, many of the folks may know me. I'm an automotive veteran, 30 years with General Motors. Primarily focused around product development, introducing new innovative products that I'm very proud of that we accomplished with the team, including products like the Chevrolet Avalanche, the Cadillac Escalade, the Chevrolet Volt, and a host of others. I'm a trained engineer, a professional engineer through the state of Michigan, but also was very fortunate to get my MBA on something called the GM Fellowship at Dartmouth College.
Okay, so you retired from GM in 2012, but you came back to be CEO of Fisker. What brought you out of retirement?
Well, the innovation occurs in this world seems to occur more from your early stage and startup companies, and that was an area that I've always been fascinated and interested on, and interested in, if you will. So after 30 years with a very big company, have had a very successful career there, I wanted to try and do something different. So upon retiring from GM, I was very fortunate to receive a bunch of different offers, and the Fisker offer was especially intriguing because of the unique styling of the product, the electric drive technology that they use, similar to Tesla but a little different, and an opportunity to help that company change the world a bit the way Tesla is doing right now.
Okay, so being in the Motor City here, we look at the two big auto companies, Ford and GM, and been around with the automotive technology for from the onset. What prevented Ford and GM from moving into and dominating the electrical vehicle sector?
Well, as many people know, both Ford and GM have been known for their technology over the years. There have been many phases of vehicle electrification, and I'll spare the audience the history back in the days when the Thomas Edisons and Henry Fords were working on electrification. But Ford and GM also participated in the late 90s in one of the more recent vehicle electrification movements, which included the EV1 product of GM. I would say the modern movement, General Motors had a very important part in it, i.e. The Chevrolet Volt, which took what were the challenges associated with the EV1, range anxiety, which I allegedly have been the person who coined it, and sort of said, we're going to fix that problem with electrified vehicles and battery-powered vehicles by giving you more range so you don't need a long extension cord. I think the challenge with Ford and GM going forward, particularly with this last economic downturn we had, certainly the most serious of my lifetime, was the challenge of focusing on profitability first and foremost and being smart with how they approached electrification. With the expense that is associated with the current batteries, it is a prudent strategy for many a company to go slowly into that till the costs come down. And I think that was a main driver, particularly for Ford, but also to a degree with General Motors as well.
Okay, well, Elon Musk got everyone all fired up with a tweet, believe it or not, and added a couple billion to his market cap in the meantime with his announcement of the Model D. What was your assessment? Obviously, the market dynamics have had a little bit to do with it, but Street didn't like it. What was your assessment?
Well, many people ask me because of my deep understanding of the auto business, as well as the new technologies that are emerging, from vehicle electrification to the autonomous driving, to many of the new business models are coming. Have asked me my thoughts. And frankly, I think as one looks at Tesla, I do have some general concerns around their ability to make a profitable model that's a high-volume model. And I think if you look at their dependence currently on the ZEV credits for revenue and profit, which is, the California mandate for zero-emission vehicles, it's not a business model, I think, that is sustainable. So I would have preferred, and perhaps the street would have preferred, for Tesla to provide news not for a higher-priced car, because the air gets thin up there relative to the number of potential customers and but to show signs of driving cost out of the car and progress into making the lower-cost, high-volume electric vehicle, which I think is really the key to their future success.
Okay, going a little follow-up here on Tesla. Very high price-to-earnings ratio. Don't sell a lot of cars. Do you think that they're a candidate for a buyout, or that they need a partner really to to take the electric vehicles to the next level?
Well, as most folks know that follow the automotive industry, it is an industry that requires a lot of capital. And scale does matter as it relates to trying to get your costs down. If you're buying 1 million steering columns, it costs you a hell of a lot less than if you're buying a few thousand steering columns. So I do believe one key element that could lead to a greater success for Tesla in the future is increased partnering. And however those alliances are formed, whether there's an actual acquisition or whatever, I think it's important so that Tesla can benefit from the scale of partners. They've established partnerships in the past with Daimler and with Toyota. I believe the Toyota partnership has cooled off a bit, but those are certainly elements of key success factors that Tesla needs to look at in order to be successful. Probably can only be garnered by having a good, strong partnership with another auto manufacturer.
This stock has had a tremendous run. Hung out at $40 for the longest time, and then kind of went parabolic with the market. Pulled back off the all-time highs. Is this something that ever came across your investment portfolio, or something that you see there's potential value in, or do you just know too much and you choose to stay away?
Great question, Joel. It's we have all in the auto industry as well as the market in general have followed Tesla with great interest, and I commend their efforts in shaking up the business, if you will. Their electric vehicle, it's a premium luxury sedan, so they're operating in a space and a price without really much competition, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays in the future. But they made a very good car. They learned from their Roadster experience, and they made a very good car. Given my affiliation with some of their competitors in the last couple of years, I have not personally invested in Tesla, but like many people, I watch with great awe and amazement. But I do think there's some fundamentals for them to succeed in the future that really do have to be fixed. They currently struggle without the ZEV credits to make a profitable car right now. And I think we'll have to see how things work out with their ability to get the cost of the batteries down and their ability to continue to infuse capital in the business to generate the returns that people are expecting based on the market price today.
And what are those credits due to expire?
There's a lot of these. These are primarily driven by California, the California Air Resources Board, and they're in the process of continually updating the varying regulatory and compliance environment there in order to be able to sell vehicles in California. So effectively, they've got different tiers or sizes of manufacturers, and each one of those manufacturers has a different rule as to the number of pure zero-emission vehicles they have to sell. If you're unable to sell those vehicles, you buy the credits from someone like Tesla, who doesn't need to offset non-zero-emission vehicle credits. So I think the real challenge is less of when they expire and more of will that revenue stream be available in the future? Will other automotive manufacturers just say, I'm just going to pay Tesla for their credits, or will they be developing their own vehicles as the costs come down and the customer and market says, we like these vehicles and we want more choices in electric vehicles and plug-in vehicles?
Okay, a couple issues with the electric vehicles. One of them is the actual charging stations, and now I guess you can't go across the country and do it. Do you see that as like a serious impediment to to the growth of electric vehicles?
I think major infrastructure changes in the United States and in our country have always taken time. I like to share some fun facts with a lot of folks that always raises their eyebrows, and one of my favorite ones is sharing with them that it took 50 years from the first installment of electricity in a house for just half the U.S. households to have electricity. So if you understand the nature of infrastructure and how it takes to upgrade infrastructure and the like, and we have some other issues with our electrical grid as well, it will take time to provide more ubiquitous charging station infrastructure. For many of the vehicles, all you need to have is the ability to charge in your home or garage. Some places and cities that people don't have access to that garage are areas that need to be worked on. The next most prevalent place where vehicles sit is the workplace, and there's a number of initiatives there. So I don't believe it will be an impediment, but I do believe the growth of electrified vehicles and plug-in cars will be somewhat paced by the infrastructure. And I think if you've monitored the way adoption rates and sales have increased over time, it's been a slow and steady improvement in electrified vehicles, and I think it will continue that way for the next 5 or 10 years.
And another thing that Elon Musk was venturing into was, spending just a large amount of money on a battery factory. I don't know if that was in New Jersey or what the status of it was, but I remember reading about it, and a couple analysts they weren't too thrilled about that. Do you think that that they should just concentrate on what they're doing, or do you think that the car battery is that important that they need to go ahead spend all that money? I guess would be the why people are skeptical about it, to build a battery factory as opposed to just pouring more money into R&D.
Well, Joe, that's a great question. I believe the Tesla factory, the first announcement was for a facility in Nevada, which is going to be quite subsidized, if you will, by the state and other entities. I think what Tesla is trying to do is, since they have bet on all battery-powered vehicles, no other alternate propulsion alternatives, they're going all battery all the time, they have to get the cost of that battery down. And they believe that there is scale benefits to building a large factory with high production output. I, too, question that strategy because it's very capital intensive, and it's looking and choosing an existing technology where I believe in 5 to 10 years we may be surprised that a new technology may open up the opportunities for plug-in vehicles, electric vehicles in the future. So I think many of the analysts are correct in questioning the strategy, but I think from Tesla's perspective, they're looking at driving the cost down in their batteries. And the interesting aside where I give Tesla a lot of credit is Elon also is affiliated with other companies like Solar City, and those batteries can end up being quite useful in supporting the electric grid, backup storage, and renewable energy, which requires energy storage components in the system because you can never quite predict when the sun shines and when the wind blows. And so batteries are important in the energy system overall. So that's, I think, an interesting play, I think, that the folks at Tesla and Elon Musk are looking at as well.
Okay, so let's talk about autonomous vehicles. When do you envision more autonomous cars on the road than ones driven by humans?
Well, Joel, I typically don't get into the forecasting business like that, but let me share with you some of the things that I've observed. And I am a recent convert, I'll say, as an automotive expert and professional. I was skeptical for a number of years on autonomous vehicles and when we would actually see them. I have seen so many people put significant efforts, both the auto manufacturers, technology companies, and others, to try to take the technology as it stands today, both from the perspective of connectivity to the vehicle, but also the varying sensing technology and the horsepower behind some of the software algorithms, and I've seen them do some very interesting and wonderful things. So from a technical perspective, I think many of the key aspects of autonomous driving will be realized in the next decade or so. Now, that being said, do I believe we will have completely self-driving vehicles that everyone can buy at your local dealership? I find that less likely, and I believe that the applications will be twofold. One, there'll be aids that are provided to drivers that help them be better drivers and aren't fully autonomous. And those are things like adaptive cruise control, various brake assists, various alerts, etc. And then I think for specific applications, whether it be airport shuttles within a college campus, long-haul trucking applications, I think you'll begin to see in those controlled environments some autonomous driving. But the future is very fascinating because it will shake up a lot as it relates to everything from the insurance business to material handling and transport business, if in fact this technology is ready for prime time. But there are certainly many, many policy issues, many tests that have to go through, and I'd still like to see one of those autonomous vehicles handle some icy and snowy conditions up in the northern states and see how they perform there.
You know why I'm looking forward to autonomous cars?
Why is that, Joel?
Well, so I can drive, I can be in a car with my wife and she won't tell me I'm driving too fast.
Well, you can still have her be the backseat driver if you want.
Yeah, to the computer. Where's Google stand in all this? I know they've been working on it, been kind of quiet. Are they making any progress?
Well, as everyone knows, Google is a company absolutely to be reckoned with. They have, through many of their various divisions and technology groups, been reaching and looking forward at sort of the next big business opportunities, and they've put a lot of resources on autonomous driving. They have showcased a number of these vehicles on their campus and other locations, and I think they're making great progress. The statements that they've made from the company themselves is that they believe with the sensors they provide on board the vehicle, the learning algorithms, the mapping technology, that they can create an autonomously driven vehicle that drives better than a human can. Now, for application purposes, it's still many, many years away, but I think the auto business in general is fascinating when you look at the changes that are possible in the existing and conventional business models. One of them is having so many new technologists involved in shaping an autonomously driven future.
Okay, we only have a few minutes left here, but I want to sneak in a couple quick questions here. Vehicle-to-vehicle communication. The obvious benefit of that is perhaps avoiding accidents. Where's the technology stand on vehicle-to-vehicle communication?
Once again, it's being heavily emphasized by a number of companies, and also been heavily focused on within the federal government and many of the agencies. And as people know and recognize, the automobile has improved dramatically in safety over the years. The next logical opportunity is having vehicles with the sensing capability and communication capability to know where the other vehicle is and inherently avoid them, as opposed to protect you once a collision or crash has occurred. So it is something that I think those watching the market should keep an eye on. I do believe that as autonomous driving is still many, many years out, but nonetheless there may be companies that emerge that are very unique and leading-edge technologies that may be of interest to many of the investment community.
Yeah, I know on my car, when I pull in my garage too fast, it kind of locks it up right before I hit the garbage cans. But before we let you go, final tips for investors looking to invest in this sector, along those lines, the future of electronic vehicles and the future of transportation.
Well, one of the things that I suggest to folks is It's very important to note that the auto business is a global business. The market in China is now bigger than the market in the United States. In China, for example, using that as an example, there are 8 cars per every 100 people. In the United States, there's 80 per every 100. So we still believe there's a lot of growth in China. We believe that some of that growth will need to be vehicles that are alternate propulsion. Anyone who's visited China knows they have some serious issues pollution-wise, and there will be energy challenges in the future. So I always suggest to people to look at whatever you're investing in, what is their China and Asia and growth market strategy, because the auto business still is a growth market. Secondarily, there are a number of companies, given the change in business models, whether it's car sharing, autonomous driving, that have the opportunity to really upset some of the existing business models. So you look very close at some of those companies that have good affiliation, good technologies, and that could be disruptive to the market in the future. So those are areas I encourage folks to take a good close look at. And it's some of the work that I do right now when I advise and consult and serve on boards of various companies to try to help the new innovative technologies make their way to the marketplace and hopefully provide some great benefits and functionality to the customers, and hopefully for those that are smart investors, give them great returns as well.
Great advice from Tony Posawatz. He's an automotive innovation leader and former CEO of Fisker Automotive. Very intelligent, well thought out outlook on the electric car industry. Tony, thanks for coming on. We hope to have you on again.
Joel, always a pleasure. Have a great day.
Okay, thank you.